Imagine walking the dark, narrow streets of Paris. In the early 1800s, the city was alive with the hum of carriages, the clatter of boots on cobblestones, and the silent figures lurking in the shadows. Crime wasn't just common, it thrived. The police were often powerless, and criminals ruled entire neighborhoods. But in the heart of this chaos emerged a man unlike any other, a man who would change the face of crime fighting forever. This is the story of Eugène François Vidocq, a thief who became the world's first detective, and the father of modern criminology. A troubled beginning. Eugène François Vidocq was born in 1775 in Arras, France. From the very start, he wasn't like other boys. While others dreamed of becoming soldiers, farmers, or tradesmen, Vidocq was drawn to danger. His rebellious spirit led him into constant trouble. By the age of 13, Vidocq had already developed a reputation as a skilled fighter and a trickster. When he was just 16, he stole from his father and fled to join the army. But even in the military, Vidocq couldn't resist the temptations of mischief. He dueled, gambled, and cheated his way through army life until deserting altogether. Over the next few years, Vidocq wandered across France, committing crimes to survive. Theft, forgery, and scams became his daily bread. He was arrested several times, but always managed to escape. Vidocq wasn't just a criminal. He was a master of disguise and deception, prisoner turned informant. By the early 1800s, Vidocq's luck had run out. He was captured and thrown into prison. But rather than accept his fate, Vidocq saw opportunity behind bars. He studied the criminals around him, learning their secrets, their methods, and their weaknesses. When he was finally released, Vidocq had a new plan, one that would shock everyone who knew him. Vidocq walked into the headquarters of the Paris police and made a bold offer. "I know the minds of criminals because I am one of them. Let me help you catch them." To the surprise of the officers, his offer was accepted. Vidocq was allowed to operate undercover, blending in with the very world he once ruled. The birth of the first detective force. In 1811, Vidocq took things a step further. He proposed creating a special unit within the police, a team of former criminals, who would track down active offenders. This was unheard of at the time. Who would trust thieves to catch other thieves? But Vidocq believed no one knew the criminal mind better than those who had lived it. His unit, called La Brigade de Charite, began operating in secret. Dressed in plain clothes, Vidocq and his men patrolled the streets, blending into the underworld. Their success was immediate. Vidocq's team solved cases the regular police couldn't, using methods far ahead of their time. They wore disguises, conducted surveillance, and even employed early forensic science techniques, like plaster casts of footprints and handwriting analysis. One famous case involved a notorious gang that had been robbing and terrorizing Parisian merchants for months. Vidocq infiltrated the gang by posing as a beggar. By the time the police struck, Vidocq was already inside, gathering evidence that dismantled the entire operation. Hero or villain? Despite his successes, Vidocq was not without enemies. Many in the police force distrusted him, calling him a glorified criminal. Others believed his ties to the underworld were too close for comfort. But Vidocq didn't care about politics. His mission was to fight crime, and he did so ruthlessly. By 1827, Vidocq had officially retired from the police. But the idea of retirement didn't suit him. Within a year, Vidocq opened the world's first private detective agency. His clients ranged from wealthy merchants to ordinary citizens who needed help with missing persons, theft, or even marital disputes. Vidocq's agency became famous, and once again, criminals feared the name Vidocq, a legacy that changed the world. Vidocq's influence stretched far beyond the streets of Paris. His methods laid the foundation for modern criminal investigation, surveillance, undercover work, record-keeping, and even the first attempts at fingerprinting all trace back to his innovations. Writers like Victor Hugo were fascinated by Vidocq's life. In fact, many believe that Jean Valjean from Les Miserables was inspired by Vidocq, a man who sought redemption but could never escape his past. Vidocq passed away in 1857 at the age of 81. By then, his legend was firmly established. The Charité Nationale, the detective force he founded, eventually evolved into France's modern police force, and his private detective agency paved the way for agencies around the world. Outro, reflective tone, with images of old Paris transitioning into modern cityscapes. Vidocq's story is proof that redemption is possible, even for those who once walked the darkest paths. From criminal to detective, his journey reminds us that sometimes the best way to fight crime is to understand it from within. So, the next time you hear about great detectives, remember, before Sherlock Holmes or Hercule Poirot, there was Vidocq. And without him, the world of crime fighting might look very different today. Thanks for watching Wonder Stories. If you enjoyed this tale of real-life intrigue, be sure to like, subscribe, and join us for the next incredible story from history.